famous?
Well, I just think we were prepared. You know, one thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.
Welcome into the Three Fantasy Boys podcast. We are your hosts, Steve Duncan, Ryan Sams, myself, Mikey Mize. We are back on this wonderful Wednesday, September 15th. We are recording for week 2 of NFL action. We got Thursday night football tomorrow, Giants versus not Redskins, but the Washington football team. Wow, I'm 2 years removed from that. I need to get on that. I need to tighten that up. But yeah, the Washington football team versus the Giants in Thursday night football. But we will break down pretty much all the relevant fantasy football action from the upcoming week 2. We'll do some this or that. Pretty much I'm going to go over some guys and ask these guys who would they play over this person or that person and why. And then at the end of the show, we'll do our heroes and zeros, same thing we did last week. We're all going to pick a couple guys, 1 or 2 guys for our heroes, guys that we think are going to break out or boom this week, and then our zeros, guys that we think will do the opposite. And that's going to be the show. So, fellas, how you guys doing? I know we've been talking before the show, but Steve, I know it's Liam, your oldest son's birthday. How was that?
It was good. We're going to celebrate actually this weekend, so just took him out for dinner, had a nice little dinner, got him some V-Bucks because he loves Fortnite, and yeah, it was good. So
you guys should have taken him to Japanese hibachi. Let me tell you guys something. I never had Japanese hibachi before, and I've been to Japan a good share of times, being in the military. But I never had Japanese like hibachi where you sit down and they do the grill and all that. You know, I never did that until I was here in Manassas, Virginia, for another work trip, much like I am right now, a couple weeks ago with the wife and daughter. So we did it. It's the first time I ever had yum sauce. Tell me what you guys know
good.
about yum. Oh my goodness.
Oh, so good, man.
It's changed my life.
Good.
I'm not gonna lie. It's changed my life. It's like I don't know how I went this long without having it. And now that I have had it, I'm on like a tear. Like I have to have this in my life all the time now.
What does it taste like? I don't think I've had it before. Is it yellow or orange?
No, it's kind of like a mayo. It's kind of like
It's yum.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yum.
Oh, okay, it's yum. Hell yeah, I think I've had it.
You should have said that. Yeah, you should have said that. I don't really know how to describe it, honestly. It's kind of like a spicy mayo, but it's not really kind of like a tangy mayo a little bit.
It's delicious.
With, like hibachi steak and fried rice,
chicken.
Yeah, it's changed my life for real.
Yeah, we actually have a hibachi house right next to where we live, and when I met my wife, she was the first to kind of introduce me into hibachi, and ever since we went there, I'm like, this place is great. Like I love this place. So.
Oh yeah. I think hibachi might be American specific, to be honest, because like I said, and I don't remember ever seeing like hibachi. I mean, I'm sure there is, but I don't ever remember like hearing about, we got to go to this hibachi place. It was always sushi, OG style sushi. Yeah, that's pretty much how that went. Yes, I am recording this meeting, Steve. Sorry, it was easier than just texting it to you.
All right, good. When I hopped on, I didn't see anything, so I'm like, I gotta make sure.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So,
besides that, it's good.
Let's get into some football, man. I mean, Ryan, you got anything? What's going on with you, man?
I just did my normal ritual before analyzing fantasy. Stepped on some thumbtacks and I sniffed some glue. I'm ready to go.
Combed your beard with
Yep.
Brushed up with Hugo.
That's pretty much it.
How's Hugo doing? Is he gonna be barking again or what?
No, the wife, she has him back in the bedroom.
No.
He usually has
No.
something. He usually hates our takes, so he usually says something that says otherwise. But
Yeah.
we shut him up today.
That's good. That's good. Keep him locked down. I don't want to hear him one more time. Just kidding. All right, so let's get into some of these matchups, man. Like I said, Giants Washington on Thursday Night Football. You're gonna start your guys. We faded the Washington receivers last week. I still am not sold on any of them. Who was it? Sterling Shepard had a breakout week.
Shepard
Or was
did,
it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Shepard
The
had
Giants, yes.
he had like a 24. He had a 20+ point game.
Yeah, he had a breakout week, and that's cool. But it could be Kenny Galladay, or it could be help me out with the third. Who's the other one?
Slayton, Dario, yeah.
Slayton. Yeah, it could be Slayton this week. So like,
Yep.
It's just murky waters in the Giants receiving room. Evan Ingram is out, so I guess that's something to like kind of, keep in mind that he's not going to be eating up a lot of the tight end spot isn't going to be eating up a lot of targets. Saquon's still banged up, but I would be wary about playing any of the receivers. I guess if you have to play Shepard because he had the breakout game, but that's still kind of murky waters to me.
Yeah. He has more of the established connection with Daniel Jones. Galladay, he might not still be up to speed with Jones on like a pass catching level. So I could definitely see starting Shepard. Just be weary of the Washington football team's defense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because Daniel Jones is not Justin Herbert.
And they have even more to play for now, knowing that they don't have their starting quarterback in Ryan Fitzmagic.
Yep.
I mean, I still think Heineke's serviceable. I think he'll be able to score the ball, but something of note that I think the defense steps up to in both on both sides of the ball, Giants and Washington. So that's that one. Then I want to talk about the Saints Panthers because I just find this one kind of interesting, right? I mean, the Saints played lights out D against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers last week. Who on the Panthers, if anybody, would you guys be starting? Other than not named CMC.
Not named CMC.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's a good question.
I guess go with DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I'm kind of afraid of Robbie Anderson and his usage.
Interesting.
I'd probably say the same thing, at least as far as the Panthers go. I'm kind of scared because they shut down Green Bay. They're a high power offense, and they shut down Devontae Adams last week. So I'm kind of scared for the Panthers in the pass game. Yeah. So
yeah, CMC's back. He's eating up like pass catching targets, and I'm checking out the target totals. DJ Moore 8, Terrace Marshall Jr. 6, Robbie Anderson 3. So just going off the information from the last game, you would start DJ Moore, the other two, Marshall Jr. or Robbie Anderson. They're going to be risky flex plays. And you'd flex Robbie over Marshall, but Robbie is still a risky flex play.
Flexi.
It's a flexi.
Baby.
I like it. It is a flexi play.
Yeah. No Sam Warnold or Dan Warnold in this one for you guys.
You know what? Here's the thing. If they play lights out D again, maybe he's going to have to go to the postman, Swam Darnold. I got no one to throw to. I'm going to throw a lobber above your head. Please jump. Boom.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would agree. I'd probably play DJ Moore over Robbie. Oh, that's tough for me. No, I'd play Robbie Anderson over DJ Moore. I would. Ooh. I know what the targets say, but I just think Robbie Anderson's the better receiver, and he's got the New York Jets connection with Sam Darnold. We didn't see it in week 1, but I still think that's a viable thing to let percolate a little bit. So, yeah, so that's it for me. Jameis, sure. I mean, I'm all aboard the Jameis train at this point. I'm playing Jameis wherever I have him. Pretty much like I've been a Jameis truther. So that's it for me. But
Jameis, it doesn't matter how he performs in the NFL level. If Jameis Winston is playing at the quarterback position and starting, he'll be fantasy viable until they bench him for throwing too many interceptions if he starts going down that road again. Because even if he throws 2 picks in a game, he's going to throw 3 touchdowns probably. He's still going to throw 20 points up because he can throw, and he's a good football player. So
Yes.
even if he does start going down a little bit, he's going to be fantasy viable, period.
Hey, the way I look at it, he's already got 5 touchdowns. 5, right?
5 touchdowns.
5, 6, something like that. He can throw 5 interceptions and still be all right, you know.
Exactly.
When that interception touchdown ratio starts equalizing, that's when it's like, all right. But
not to mention something that a lot of people aren't talking about with Jameis is he's prepared. I mean, the one thing his trainer told him is, what did he tell him? He just said be prepared.
He just said be prepared.
He's prepared.
He was pretty. I think the inflection in his voice, he knew as he was saying it, he knew it was going to be clipped, and just threw around Twitter. He was just like, God, he just said be prepared. I can't wait to see this on Twitter in a couple of days.
He did. If you don't know what we're talking about, Jameis had an all-time Jameis quote on Twitter. Go look it up. He was prepared. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, so that's really all I had on that matchup.
Do you start Marquez Callaway?
yes, I do.
I do as well.
I'm a do if you have to, because I think I'm going to start him in the dynasty, but from where I'm, maybe you guys see it the same way. I just see it as that kind of fluke, Jair Alexander, welcome to the Shadow Realm type of game for Marquez. And we kind of talked about it before, where Winston threw the tight ends, well scripted pass plays, they kind of ran the offense through the run game, and he just kind of hit those pinpoint touchdown throws. Do you see him possibly playing a little bit more like from behind against Carolina?
Not from behind, but I just don't think that, like you said, the game script kind of took the ball out of Jameis's hands as far as like having to really throw the ball around. And maybe that happens again. But Callaway should be a safe enough play in my eyes. Juwan Howard, or is it Juwan Howard? No, not Juwan Howard.
Tight end.
Is it Juwan Howard?
Wait, is it Juwan Johnson?
Howard's coming
Howard.
out.
Wait, is Juwan Howard a basketball
football?
player?
Yeah, Juwan
Yes.
Howard, Michigan head coach. Yeah, it's not Juwan Howard, but Juwan Johnson. I think ate up a lot of the red zone targets. And once they got ahead, they were rolling, but Jameis only threw for like 150 yards. So I think he throws for more than that this week. Yeah, I think Marquez Callaway is going to get plenty of targets. And not to mention Traquan Smith, he's out. So they have really Callaway, and then
Deontay Harris.
Mr. Slants is on the IR. Yeah, so they have Deontay Harris and Callaway essentially. So I think Callaway is going to be fine this week.
I also think I want to point out that Deontay Harris touchdown, I think it's going to be a fluke. And some people probably added him from the waiver wire, but he was on Kevin King, the same guy, I believe, that gave up that touchdown to Scotty Miller, I think it was, and during the playoffs. Kevin King is their worst cornerback, and he just gave up on that play, and it was just he just burned him. And it was like we were saying before, it was pretty much Jair Alexander and on Marquez, and he was kind of getting double coverage too. So if you have that Deontay Harris guy, be prepared to probably drop him in a couple of days. Hot take.
Absolutely. No, he was a pretty hot waiver pickup, especially for people that didn't get on the Elijah Mitchell train. So that's a good point. Yeah, so that's that one. I mean, another one I wanted to talk about really quick was Rams Colts. This one's interesting to me because the Colts have a pretty formidable defense. We saw what Matt Stafford could do against a formidable defense against the Bears. Another one that I kind of called, by the way, just saying. But yeah, Matt Stafford had a great game. He's got a lot of good weapons on the Rams. He's obviously got a great head coach, offensive coach in Sean McVay, who's going to kind of let him do his thing out there. And it looks like he's having fun. I see kind of Stafford as kind of a weekly play going forward if you have him. You probably got him late enough to where your team's good enough everywhere else that Stafford will definitely give you enough to, he's not going to sink you by any stretch of the imagination. But I just want to see what your guys' take was on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Stafford is, viable play here on out. I mean, he's always been, even on the Lions. So I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, the Colts are supposed to have a good defense. And I mean, I know it's Russ, but they put up, 20-something points against the Colts. And I think although Stafford's not as good a quarterback as Russell Wilson is, he's good enough in the system of Sean McVay. And we saw that against the Bears. Like, he threw all over them. And I'm liking that call that he's QB1 leagues. If it's a 1 QB, I think you're lucky if you took Stafford near the end of your draft, because that means you probably got better wide receiver and running back depth. Just like pick him off near the end. As long as he stays healthy, top 10 quarterback probably, I would say.
Excellent stuff. All right, so let's move on then. So we got Jerry Jeudy going on IR for the Broncos versus the Jags. So big game for Cortland Sutton. Is that what we're feeling like? Because I've heard the consensus that people are, calling this a breakout game for Cortland Sutton. I lean towards Tim Patrick, honestly, and that's kind of an insight to later in the show. But Tim Patrick, all he does is catch touchdowns, right? Like, I mean, he just he proves consistently enough that he's a pretty safe option in the red zone and otherwise. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is a pretty safe quarterback. He's going to throw to the guys that he's got confidence in that'll catch the ball when it comes down to it. And I think Tim Patrick fits the bill as far as that's concerned. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think about the Broncos wide receiving core.
I'm thinking anybody but Sutton. So be it Tim Patrick or KJ Hamler. And it's not because I don't believe in Sutton as an athlete and as a wide receiver, but just coming off the ACL injury, I think it's going to take him a little bit longer to get up to speed and game speed and get comfortable. Because I liked him over Jerry Jeudy last week. And I think, I don't know who scored the most points, but because Jeudy went out, it might have been Sutton. But I think Jeudy was targeted more. I just think we just don't know how he's going to. We need more data on Sutton in the game, like in a game, at least 6 games before we can, say he's going to be what he was. Because, I think the jury's still out on him. And I can't decide between Tim Patrick or Hamler. So for me, it's too tough of a call. But I'm going to go with your gut and go with Tim Patrick.
Yeah, I'm. I hate to say this. I'm in the same boat, though. I think Sutton's going to get the number 1 defender, and it's Tim Patrick kind of be open. Who I really love actually in this game is both of the Broncos running backs. So I think you could start both those guys this week.
Me too.
And be fine. So that's who I really love.
Because they're Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, we're talking about a soft Jags defense. So, I mean, we're kind of fading Cortland Sutton in here, but, like, he still is a pretty viable option, against the Jags if you have him on a roster.
Yeah.
We're not really saying don't play him, but, I mean, as far as the wide receiving core goes, with Jerry Jeudy out, we're just kind of seeing who we would play if we had, an option of those guys.
Yeah. Who, real quick, do you know who's going to eat up? You know who's going to eat up all the receptions, though?
Noah Fant.
Yeah. My boy. You know it. He's just going to get them all. He's going to pull a Darren Waller. Get them all.
All right. Keep that same energy later on. I got something for you.
If you could stay healthy.
Oh, okay. Like I called Derek Carr. Just saying. Keep that same energy. Keep that same energy, boy.
Ever bring up Derek Carr in my presence. I will smite you.
Derek Carr is despicable.
He is despicable.
5 of his balls were uncatchable to Darren Waller. Cost me my matchup.
Listen, that
he
bully,
pulled it out in the end. That's all that matters.
Bully from Toy Story. What's his name?
Sid?
Spike?
Yeah,
Yep, you're right, Sid. Yep.
Listen, I don't want to hear a word about Sid Carr. All right? And that's the last I'm going to talk about him.
Okay. We can go on.
We'll move on to a better fantasy matchup. The 49ers versus the Eagles. A lot to talk about in this one, right? Elijah Mitchell being pretty much the number 1 waiver ad in almost every league.
Yep.
The 49ers. So let's get on a soapbox really quick because I want to talk about coach speak, and why it's important. So I got a quote here from Tim Kawakami, who is he's from the San Francisco. He reports for The Athletic for San Francisco 49ers. This is what he tweeted earlier. He said, "What we know about Shanahan and Turner is that it's hard to keep exact track of their running back depth chart order, especially the rookies. It can change every week." I was kind of paraphrasing there, but that's what he said. And that really resonated with me because it's so true with Shanahan. And we've talked about this before where he can go out there and say one thing. And then here comes week 2 and Trey Sermon gets all the carries. And you know what I mean? Like Elijah Mitchell, who everyone added last week, is gone, for week 2. And then it flips. It's so unpredictable in San Francisco as far as running backs concerned. So, because he came out and said essentially he likes all the guys. Shanahan was saying, well, yeah, Mitchell showed up and he stepped up in Mostert's absence and, he had a really great day. But we also really like what we see out of Trey Sermon. And we also have faith that Hasty can do the same. And we also have faith when Jeff Wilson comes back that he can do the same, right? So, what do you guys take on this? Is this still just like the Costco running backs, play one and hope that it's your guy type thing?
Yep. That's what San Francisco is, period.
Yep, that's what they always been. I feel like that's what they are with every position. Shanahan decided not to play Ayuk last week, and he said, I think he came out and said, once he gets more practice in, and it because he's been dealing with an injury, and Shanahan's just that type of guy. So Ayuk gets more practice in, and hopefully
that wasn't
could
the only
potentially
thing he
play.
said. That wasn't the only thing he said, Steve.
He's got to play better than the guy behind him.
Exactly.
Yep. And but thing, he also said something in the same vein about Trey Sermon.
He's been dealing with an injury,
which is
you
true.
Understand that.
We get the Ayuk truther here.
But he's
he's
said
the best
Trey
on the
Sermon
team.
was
That's
outplayed.
why. Sorry.
But it makes sense that you can't outplay a guy behind you if your hamstring is shredded. But he still didn't play better than the guy behind him. But I liked Ayuk last year. It's hard to you can predict that George Kittle will maybe get 10 to 15 points if they're playing from behind. Otherwise, they're just going to run the ball with 4 different running backs. Yeah, that's one of the easiest things to predict.
I think it's Shanahan trying to be smarter than everybody, but really not being smart. You know what I mean? I think he's really trying to big brain it when he doesn't have to. I think if he just ran with the guys that he knows are the best, they would probably be fine. But because he wants to play this trying to keep the defense guessing, and you know what I mean? I have to outsmart the defensive coordinator 2 weeks before we play them type of thing. He's kind of outsmarting himself, really, in my opinion.
Yeah. His system is so good and his run blocking is so good. I feel in my gut that you could put almost any running back in the backfield and they could average 4 yards a carry. That's just how some of the holes they're opening up it was the Lions defense. I understand that, but his system's really good and he drafts accordingly. I just need a bunch of running backs, some with, 4.4 or better speed, some that are bruiser, and then I'll just throw them in. I don't care how they perform. They're going to get touchdowns.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I wanted to bring that up to you, Steve, because I know you're a big Ayuk guy. So, and I
wouldn't worry about Ayuk. I would keep him.
Okay,
hey, is that why you were trying to get him from me in the preseason?
I just said I'm an Ayuk guy myself.
I thought you said Ryan was.
No, that's me. I'm gonna own up to it as well. I am an Ayuk guy. I think he.
I like.
I see. Ayuk. I said a trade.
I still do. I still do like Ayuk.
Yeah. So that's Shanahan being Shanahan. Another coach. We got John Harbaugh saying that he's blessed to have 4 running backs Latavius Murray, Devonta Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, and Tyson Williams. He's just blessed to have that in his backfield, and it's just what does that mean? I think you just have to read the tea leaves here and watch the film, and that's why I still believe in Elijah Mitchell and Tyson Williams, because I was texting you guys during the games like,
Yes.
listen, these guys look electric. These guys look fast. They look quick. They're bursting through holes. They're finding holes. You know, like, yes, the offense is getting called, pretty efficiently, but like these guys look great. How do you not play them when they look that great? You know what I mean? So I think if you just read the tea leaves and watch the film, who plays good, and then roll with that, I think that's your best bet with teams like that with coach speak. And I just wanted to mention that while we're going through these matchups here.
Yeah, they've
I
got
think it is important.
That's a good
high-powered run offenses. You know, they have two of the best run offenses in the game, if not the best. Baltimore and San Francisco. Play the number one for as long as you can.
Bingo.
I wanted to bring something up with Tyson Williams because I was high on him as well, but I like to bring up some negatives to help balance out the positives because I like the way he ran against Las Vegas. A couple of things stood out, but these you could just chalk this up to rookie mistakes. But this is something that I think Latavius Murray could excel in that he can't. Is he had some missed pass blocking opportunities, and one of the fumbles was partly his fault. Not saying this is the end of the road for Tyson Williams. He just needs to clean this type of thing up because Latavius Murray, very capable back, coming off of one of his best statted seasons from last year. As he gets up to speed more, there's a potential that he could take over the backfield. I think it's small right now. I'm still on the Tyson Williams train because he looked good, but that's just one thing to think about because you always got to think about what could possibly happen that could dethrone this guy. When it comes to San Francisco, if you have room on your bench and IR, pick up Jeff Wilson Jr. Throw him in your IR spot if you got room, because once he comes back, they're saying week 7. I would say probably more like week 8 or 9. He'll be pretty full speed, and Shanahan, that's one of Shanahan's guys, and he likes fresh legs. So, like he did for a lot of people last season, he could be a league winner inside of that offense. End of rant.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're absolutely right. I mean, Shanahan raves over the depth that they have at RB. And obviously Jeff Wilson just adds to that, and it makes him not rush him back before he's ready type of thing. So that's a good point.
It's insane what they have there. It is so insane.
Yep. On the other side of the ball, you got Devonta Smith kind of stepping up for the Eagles. I think you just have a really good young Eagles offense. Honestly, Ryan, you called Jalen Hurts last week. He had a great breakout kind of thing, even though he had really good games last season as well. And then even Jalen Reagor was, pretty good as a third year now wide receiver. But he really kind of just broke out just now. I think they're really just letting those guys play within the scope of what they should have been playing all along. And they have that with Jalen Hurts facilitating. So I think that's good for the Eagles offense.
Maybe what he needed in that offense was a real like alpha wide receiver one to draw the more complex or double coverage, off the cornerbacks. Kind of, not saying Calvin Ridley is this, but I would say a better comparison would maybe be a Juju Smith-Schuster. One of his best seasons is when Antonio Brown was on the field. Not to say Devonta Smith is, but Heisman winner, he caught a touchdown pass. I think that was his first reception, and he burned that dude too. So maybe Devonta Smith being the number one is going to lead to Reagor being a little more fantasy relevant.
Yeah, and they were playing the Falcons, so taper that. But
yeah,
they just look good week 1, and a lot of teams do, and then they stink it up. So we'll see. But I just like the young core that they have there in Philadelphia. I think that's really good for the offense going forward. Yeah, so that'll be a fun matchup. Let's talk about one that can get interesting a little bit, the Steelers and Raiders. Steelers, obviously, with the 3 wide receivers that everyone kind of has high hopes for, but at the same time, no one really has high hopes for. Najee Harris, who people absolutely have high hopes for. Najee Harris was going in the first round in pretty much all the leagues that I was in. and then he kind of had that lackluster week 1 behind a shoddy offensive line. What do you guys see this matchup shaking out as?
If he doesn't do well against the Las Vegas Raiders defense, he's Gumby to me. Because I remember you showing me that stat that said the Iron Man, he had 100% snap percentage, that's impressive. He got the usage. The Las Vegas Raiders, they got a pretty soft, I would say, front line. Tyson Williams, who is not better than Najee Harris, at least from just looking at them both, I guess objectively or subjectively. I forget what objectively it is, but
I always get my objectively confused as well.
Yeah, without bias is what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. It's late. Najee Harris looks like a better back, so I don't care how bad his offensive line is. Make some plays, and this is also on Matt Canada. You better script him in better. We better see more screen passes to Najee Harris, because that's part of why you drafted him. He's so good at catching the ball. Next 2 games, we're going to see if he's worth that draft capital. Right now, it's hard to make the call, though. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I took Najee in our Dynasty League and super high on him, even if he has another dud of a game. Super young guy, so I wouldn't be too worried about him. And yeah, to me, 100% of the snaps he was in, that is very impressive.
He's the only running back.
McCaffrey can't even do that,
Right.
It's and I don't think that's not going to keep up, because you're going to just wear your guy down. But like you said, Ryan, he needs to get involved more in the passing game.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head also, Mike. I think it was the last podcast we did when Pittsburgh's in that go mentality, when they didn't have a running back, just passing the ball, they were doing very well. And I think they kind of need to incorporate that a little bit, because their O-line still doesn't seem to be the best. But I like Najee. I actually like Claypool out of these receivers. It's hard. It's hard with this receiving group. You got 3 guys that each of them could potentially be the number 1, every week, just different weeks. So at least this week, I do like Claypool and Smith-Schuster. I'm not as high on the third guy. And
Johnson.
Deontay Johnson. Yep.
Wow.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I am the opposite as well.
I think until, for me, the target share evens out, I just think Deontay Johnson is Ben's dude. And just because I still think that Ben's arm is limited. I think it's not completely noodle mode. It's a little al dente. But then, as we said before, as the season gets going, that thing is in a bowl of ragu sauce. Nobody can get it out. It's overcooked.
That's a spicy meatball right there.
Yeah, it's covered in sauce. It's like, how many different types of screen passes do we have in this playbook? Let's use them all.
Yeah, no, I would agree, right? I think Ben's arm is a noodle, and it will become even more noodlier. All right, let's forget that I did that. I think that he's going to get worse, and I think they're going to revert back into that pass happy. Because when the offensive line has played as bad as it has in Pittsburgh, that's really the only option, right? Get the ball out quick.
Yep.
And, dink and dime down the field. And that equates to a lot of PPR points for all 3 of those guys, which I just think Deontay Johnson's probably the safest option out of the 3. Claypool, yeah, sure, he gives you that big play kind of name value, but I think that doesn't translate to when he has 2 seconds to throw the ball.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we're going to see again this year. But I do think that benefits Najee as well. Like if Najee can get those little flare outs and dump offs really quick, then maybe he benefits from it a little bit. So I'm not really too worried about him, but I think it's going to revert back to that as well.
Like, I understand where you're coming from for Chase Claypool. I like the player and just the athletic ability. He's capable. He mossed that dude last game. I don't think he's going to be as fantasy relevant as Deontay Johnson until either one, the offensive line gets better, or two, they get a new quarterback. Because I think if they had, let's say, Justin Herbert behind the line and Claypool was out to the right, Claypool would be more fantasy relevant. Just because Herbert, I think, his current form, better quarterback than Ben, can actually move in the pocket, buy himself some time, as like Mike was saying, Claypool needs some time to get downfield, open something up. Claypool's in a bad spot. He's going to be limited by the offensive line and Ben Noodleberger. That's right.
Noodleberger.
You're welcome.
That sounds kind of tasty, honestly.
Yeah. Like a burger filled with noodles.
I'd eat a noodle burger. I'm not going to lie.
You could fill the noodles with cheese, stuff it Juicy Lucy style.
Ooh.
Yeah, Juicy Lucy, baby.
Eat it in the bathroom in the tub when you had a long day.
I don't know about in the tub. That sounds kind of gross. You just start dropping noodles and burger pieces in the. Yeah, no, I'm not on that.
It's just soup.
Noodle burger soup.
You're just swimming in your own soup, guys.
Aren't we all? Story of my life. That's like a weird thing.
Wait, you guys don't eat in the tub and then drop your food into the tub and at the same time sing "I'm in a soup dance" song?
I cry in the tub. I guess that kind of makes it soup, doesn't it? With my tears.
Yeah, that's true.
Make my own type of soup.
All right.
This episode.
All right, let's go on. Let's move on. All right.
I have one last matchup I was going to talk about.
Real quick. The Raiders, Darren Waller, and then also I just got a notification. Okay. Dan Duggan from The Athletic said it's unlikely the Giants will totally unleash Saquon Barkley. I don't know what that means, but he sounds like he's going to get limited. I don't think he should play, but I'm just saying I'd probably not start Saquon.
No way.
You wouldn't start him? You would, like, because I think we kind of knew this, right? I think we kind of knew Saquon would be limited at least for another week or two.
I don't think I would start him, man.
I'm
on the same boat as you. I wouldn't.
I think the people that drafted Saquon drafted him probably in the first round. Maybe it was at the end of the first round.
Yeah.
But you don't draft a guy in the first round and not start him if he's even has a chance of playing. You know what I mean? Like, who else are you gonna put? Your options there is probably like Saquon or like Mike Davis. Like, who are you playing? You're gonna play Saquon, even if it's like.
Don't be stubborn.
Would you play Damian Harris over Saquon?
I would.
I wouldn't. Actually, I would. I would play Damian Harris over Saquon.
Okay. It's because I'm
hypotheticals.
Just a hypothetical. I just wanted to see where it gets.
I would. Hey, listen, I would, but I think most people wouldn't. That's the point I'm making.
I just thought it was interesting. I don't know what that means. He won't be totally unleashed. It's like, I don't think he was last week. So.
Yeah. No, he absolutely wasn't. And I kind of expected him to not be totally unleashed. And we'll talk about that, I think, a little bit later.
Yeah. So.
No. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Right,
I think Saquon is kind of a sketchy play all around, but I think the people that drafted him high enough to where it's like they kind of have to play him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I understand that thought process as well. It's like, I use my capital. How can I not play this guy right now?
Right.
But in the end, maybe you should have thought about that before drafting Saquon.
Yeah. After
a couple devastating injuries. Because after hearing that, Steve, Mike, maybe there's some validity to that reporter that had that tweet that maybe they are trying to shop Saquon around and keep him healthy. Maybe they think he's out of it, and they're like, well, maybe we can get some kind of capital off his name alone. I think there could be something there.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's definitely something to watch out for. I mean, Saquon's still young too. I mean, we're talking about guys like 24 years old.
Oh yeah.
And
Super.
he did have a devastating injury, but like running backs can bounce back from that, especially when they're still young. So I think if you draft him, you're probably playing him, but
You are.
you shouldn't have drafted him. That's what we're saying.
Let's say, okay, so Josh Jacobs was held out of practice because of everything, apparently. So you have Kenyon Drake or Saquon?
Saquon.
Saquon? Okay.
Absolutely for me. I mean, Josh Jacobs was banged up last week supposedly, and he put up a fine fantasy day. He didn't, like, at least when he was playing, he didn't look like he had been, he'd come off the field and like be holding his hip or whatever, limping or whatever he was doing, but like he looked fine while he was playing. So
he's a grinder.
Yeah, and I think Saquon isn't. I mean, we're talking about Saquon Barkley here. He's not like,
Yeah.
what I mean? We're not talking about like, I don't know, 32-year-old Melvin Gordon. Like, the guy's young and he's explosive. Like, he could still rip off a 70-yard run at any time. It's not likely with him being all banged up or whatever, and the Giants being what they are, but I think he's explosive enough. And if you drafted him high enough to where you kind of have to play him.
Jamal Williams versus Green Bay or Saquon Barkley?
Jamal Williams.
I'd
Me
probably
too.
go with Jamal. So
I just like the game script, and Jamal Williams got like 9 targets in the passing game.
Yep. He was a top 5 running back in PPR.
Lions are going to play down against the Packers. I think Jamal Williams is number 2 running back on the week in PPR formats, which is nuts.
Yeah, who would have called that?
25 fantasy points, which is awesome, but also
if you called that, you're a genius.
Yeah. So let's talk about this last matchup before we get into some this or that. Last one I want to talk about really quick was the Titans and Seahawks. And I just find it intriguing because like the Titans are kind of like with Julio and, who's the coach of the Titans? God, we're bad with names here, aren't we?
Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
Vrabel was like all mad with Julio because that holding call or whatever he had, or the unsportsmanlike call that he had. Did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Vrabel like called out Julio for that unsportsmanlike call. But I think it's just because Julio's the new guy on the team, and maybe he's a veteran, but he's still got to like earn respect with Vrabel or whatever. But the fantasy aspect is interesting just because, Derrick Henry was so limited last week. And A.J. Brown was kind of limited in his own right. It just wasn't the like explosive Titans offense that we were like kind of everybody expected, I should say. So who are you guys playing out of that? Julio or A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown.
AJ Brown.
Yep.
Every week, all week.
I think it's still his offense. And also, we're saying that Derrick Henry got stopped, which he did, but just like Derrick Henry does, he still hit his floor. And, my full PPR, I got 10 points out of him. So, and other lesser running backs, if they're scripted out of a game or they're getting stopped by a great defense, they put up like a 3-point game. So I think Henry's still going to be the king. Their offensive line makes me a little bit hesitant, though, like thinking about it and the way that the game went. Out of all the teams that I saw, the Titans look pretty worse for wear right now. So even as I'm saying this, trade Derrick Henry. Steve, I know you wanted to trade for him. I want 10 first-round picks.
I'll trade you for him.
10 first-round
At
picks.
10.
You heard it here. That's what I'm talking about. Said you would.
I'll trade you if we had a Fab League. I'd trade you $10 in Fab.
That's disrespectful.
That is disrespectful.
I'm joking.
I want out 10,000 American or in gold bars. I'll take that. Do you have silver? 10,000 silver.
And a Netflix subscription for the next 6 months.
Yep, then he's yours.
That's worth it.
I could do the other things. The Netflix, though, that's kind of pushing it for me.
All right, Hulu. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
All right.
Yeah. We'll move on from there. The Seahawks, they seem like they're starting to roll again. Russ was cooking. Tyler Lockett looked great. DK Metcalf will be fine. Play those guys.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go on to some this or that. So I got some questions I'm going to ask you guys. Who you'd play over pretty much this or that. I mean, it's self-explanatory, right? So let's get into it. Who are you guys playing? Deebo Samuel versus the Eagles or Antonio Brown versus the Falcons?
I'm Brown versus the Falcons.
I am Antonio Brown versus the Falcons also.
I am as well, so that one kind of sucks. But
it's all good.
I don't know. I think Deebo is intriguing, especially with all the Shanahan stuff we're talking about, right? I mean, Ayuk, say what you want about him, Steve. I'm a truther as well, like I've said on the record. But Deebo stood out last week, and it was against a bad Detroit Lions defense. But if Ayuk is not healthy, and I feel like Deebo is like the only guy, right, other than Kittle, right? But
I'll get into Deebo later. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, we'll save that. We'll shelf that.
The Falcons D, man.
Yeah, the Falcons D is a pretty juicy matchup, and we've already seen the connection with Antonio Brown and Tom Brady reigniting. So, yeah, we're all on that board. Next one I got for you guys, Mike Williams versus the Cowboys or Nelson Aguilar versus the Jets. Nelson Aguilar had a sneaky week last week. I don't know if you guys know this.
He did.
Mm-hmm. He did.
So who do you guys got on that one?
I got mine.
I'll start.
I think I have mine, but I'm not sure.
I'll start. I'm going Mike Williams against the Cowboys. Mike Williams got 12 targets last week. The Cowboys gave up 371 yards. I mean, granted, it was Tom Brady and the Bucs championship team, but I just really like the Chargers offense this year. And if Mike Williams is going to get 12 targets, even if he gets, I don't know, half that, if they're quality targets, that's a pretty good week for Mike Williams versus Nelson Aguilar and the Patriots offense, which is kind of just unpredictable still at this point. What do you guys got?
I'm on it completely. DeMarcus Lawrence, their only semblance of a pass rush for the Cowboys is out. There's some kind of foot thing, so he's out for at least this week. Justin Herbert is going to have a million years to throw, and that's going to be perfect for Mike Williams. Like how you're kind of saying, New York or the New England's offense, it's kind of hard to predict because Jacoby Myers is there. He got the most target. Well, actually, their targets were equal, but he was on the most offensive snaps out of the team. And then you got Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. They're too tight, and they run the ball. They primarily want to run the ball through Damian Harris, where the Chargers just want to let Justin Herbert air it out because he's that much of he's a phenom.
I got Aguilar. So
Ooh, nice.
It's tough though. It was
that is
tough.
A tough one, I think. I think that's
that was a tough one, but I would go with Aguilar.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't hate that. I don't agree, but I hate that. I don't hate that. I don't agree, but I hate that.
I hate it, but I agree.
What you just said, don't ever say it to me again, but I also agree. All right, so the next one I got for you guys. Let's go battle the rookies. We got Jamar Chase versus the Bears, Devonta Smith versus the 49ers, or Jalen Waddle versus Buffalo. Each of these guys scoring a touchdown in week one. First time, or not the first time, but I think it's like one of the only times 3 rookie wide receivers have scored in however many years. It's been a minute. Anyway, yeah. All kind of stood out in their rookie debut. So who are you guys taking in those matchups?
It's Cincy versus Chicago, right?
Yep, Bengals versus Bears. Yep. Jamar Chase.
I think the Bears defense is a lot softer than we think, so I'm going with Jamar Chase. Also, he's out to prove himself. Chip on his shoulder. Everyone taking that ball comment. It's hard to see and just running away with it.
In his hands. Yeah, I mean, he did go on Good Morning Football, and he's talking about setting records with Joe Burrow. So he's got a lot of confidence right now after that week 1 debut. What do you got, Steve?
You're not going to like this. But I agree with Ryan, Jamar Chase, and there's only one reason I agree with Ryan, because come on, Bengals, back-to-back weeks against NFC North teams. You can do it. Like,
Yeah.
you
Take
can
'em out.
do it. I thought Chase did look really good last week, though. Devontae Smith, though. See, it's bad because I'm not looking at Waddle. To me, it's either Smith or Chase. That's just me, but
I'm taking Devonta Smith. I'll just
Okay.
chime in because, I mean, listen, Devonta Smith got the red zone targets on that team. I think, Ryan, you alluded to it. I think Devonta Smith immediately established himself as the number one receiver on that team over Jalen Reagor. I just think that Devonta Smith he's going to be like it's hard to say like the Justin Jefferson of this year because Justin Jefferson was so good last year.
Yeah.
But if any rookie wide receiver is going to be close to that, I think it's Devonta Smith just based on the talent and like, you know what I mean? I like the connection that Burrow and Chase have, but there's plenty of options. There's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense, whereas the Eagles, it's Devonta Smith. And that's why I just have a lot of faith in Devonta Smith this week against the 49ers, which we saw will give up some passing yards, when it comes down to it. The Lions pretty much ate them up in the second half, so.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's who I'm going with.
And it was Dolphins versus the Bills, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so Tre'Davious White is going to just cover Jalen Waddle and not let go. So,
Also, what's his name is back this week for the Dolphins.
Fuller, right?
Fuller, yep.
Yeah, so that's just another deep threat.
Yep. All right, so the next one I have for you guys is talking about him a little bit earlier. Cortland Sutton versus the Jaguars without Jerry Jeudy, or Terry McLaurin versus the Giants.
Because Terry has Heineke throwing to him now, and
he does.
So that adds a whole different,
And Sutton is on a team with no Jerry Jeudy versus the Jaguars.
Yeah, but he's got Teddy Two Gloves, man.
Teddy Two Gloves look good week one, though.
Hey, and he has a sick, slick black visor. No one can see where he's throwing.
Honestly,
he can't even see.
I may have to take Sutton in this one.
I guess.
Yeah, it's hard, but I would probably take Sutton.
I do like the quarterback better.
I may or may not be facing this exact decision.
It's hard. See, I'm actually kind of high on Heineke. I just don't know. Not really his first game. Not really his I know he played last year, but the guy hardly played at all in preseason. He's getting thrown in there, and it's just I just don't know about this game. In the future, I probably wouldn't mind Terry McLaurin, and it's probably going to come bite me in the butt, but I'd probably go with Sutton. So
sure.
And it's Broncos who?
We got Broncos versus the Jaguars. Cortland Sutton versus the Jaguars, or Terry McLaurin versus the Giants.
Oh, well, man. Both teams are going to probably win. Because I don't see...
I'll give you that.
Huh. Because, they're not going to be playing from behind. That's a tough call, but it seems like Scary Terry has been pretty much QB proof. And I'm liking Tim Patrick or Hamler over Sutton. I say Scary Terry. It's almost October. And that's the only basis is Halloween's a fun time. That's it.
So you said you may or may not be dealing with this decision.
I have this exact decision.
So who you gonna go with then?
Right now, Terry is in my lineup. but I have went through a couple tilts, and
Okay.
this resolved nothing.
Yeah, I know. Totally split. I mean, it's
totally
hard to
split.
go against McLaurin, though. That's the problem.
Terry McLaurin had 4 targets last week. 4 targets. I mean, he did go through a quarterback change in the middle of the game.
Yep, and that's the
He
only
did kind of
thing.
get game scripted out. Antonio Gibson's getting a lot of work. Man, it's just really tough. Cortland Sutton is kind of just such an unknown right now. I know what happens in this, and what happens is whoever I don't play is who goes off. So as long as I go into it facing that reality, then I won't be let down. But
Yeah.
we'll
Maybe
see.
it's just Jerry Jeudy commanded targets.
Just
He's
bench
off
a different
the field.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, just don't play them both.
either of them. Yeah.
Hey, or if you just want to trade McLaurin, I don't know what league this is in, but I'm always here. Just to let you know. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not.
You should pick Willie
You're not
Snead
this
up
one.
off of waivers and just play Snead.
Throw Willie Snead in there.
Maybe you should just go with the worst defense.
Khalif
Jacksonville is a crap show.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Just
Yeah.
New York's defense isn't horrible. They're better than the Jaguars. So just you kind of go with the crapshoot and you just hope that now that Judy's gone, Cortland steps up and catches some passes against one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys aren't helping anymore, so I'm just going to move on.
Maybe you should just
maybe I should just off myself. No. All right, so let's talk about Zeke versus the Chargers or Aaron Jones versus the Lions on Monday Night Football.
Aaron Jones
eating against the Lions over Zeke? No bounce back for Zeke, huh?
I think they're going to be similar. I think that Zeke's going to have a better game. I think the game script's going to be different. But it's really our secondary is Swiss cheese. But they ran all over. I mean, San Francisco still ran all over us. I expect Aaron Jones to go 2 TDs in this game. So I think Aaron Jones.
Hey, man, if I'm not mistaken, last year the Lions were the worst, defense. Hands
just
down,
everything?
period, everything defense in NFL history.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I didn't see much that changed on that defense, so I'm going with Jones. Hands down, is going to have a better game, more points, everything. So
listen, you guys are just not you guys aren't fans of our Leos, okay? I'm going Aaron Jones too. So let's move on.
Damn straight.
All right. This one you'll like, Steve. We got Noah Fant
Ayuk
against
Ayuk.
Ayuk.
Don't worry about the question. It's Ayuk.
Hands down. Yeah.
All right, Noah Fant versus who?
The Jags. Similar matchup we just talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Or Tyler Higbee and the Rams against the Colts. We saw how Stafford targeted Higbee, on Sunday Night Football. Noah Fant had a good week as well. I think each of them had 8 targets.
He's back.
Jerry Judy's gone. Versus the Jags.
Yeah. See, I like Higbee's quarterback better. But I like the upside of Fant, especially now that Judy's not there. I think, people are thinking, well, it's going to go to Tim Patrick or it's going to go to Cortland Sutton. And I'm a firm believer that Darren Waller 2.0 and Noah Fant, that's where the ball is going.
Oof. That's
I think Noah Fant is going to get a lot of looks off of Judy not being there.
Hugo.
So
there's Hugo.
There he is.
Hates that Noah Fant.
He hates. Hugo just told me that Noah Fant is going to catch one pass 50 yards after the catch, and he's going to have an asthma attack and sit out the rest of the game.
Oh, okay. Well, then who has more catches?
Go with Tyler Higbee.
Noah Fant or Brandon
No way.
Ayuk?
Just one catch, asthma attack. He's done for the season.
So is that your call, Rye? Tyler Higbee?
I'm going Tyler Higbee. Thank you, Hugo.
I
always listen to him.
All right.
Who are you going with, Mike?
I'm going Noah Fant. I like the matchup, like you said, Rye.
Thank you.
Or no, Steve. Jerry Jeudy gone. Noah Fant steps up. Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves has shown that he's good enough to, be serviceable in that offense. So I'm going Noah Fant. And that wraps it up for our this or that. So let's get into the heroes and zeros of the week. Anybody want to volunteer to start us up? Well, let's do heroes first since we did zeros first last time.
Sure, I'll go.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'll just give my hero. I was gonna switch it up and do my runner-up, but I'll just do my hero. So, my hero this week is, and forgive me, I know we were talking to each other about our heroes and stuff before the podcast, but I completely forgot your guys's. So forgive me if I took one of yours. I don't think I did. My hero is Chase Edmonds.
You piece of crap. I'm shutting this laptop off.
Was that really yours, right?
No,
I didn't think that was his. So he had 63 yards, rushing yards, and 4 targets, and 4 receptions in his first game, Edmonds. And he's facing a Vikings defense, who let Joe Mixon have, 127 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Mixon had 4 targets himself, and then Samaje Perine also added, I think, a target in there as well. So 5 target total for the running backs last week of Cincinnati. I think Chase Edmonds is going to get it done. He's going to get the 5+ targets. And that team's just too good. I mean, against a Vikings defense who did not look good against the run last week. So
yep.
I think Chase Edmonds is going to be the guy that lights it up this week. So
I really like that pick.
Mostly
because Kyler is out of this world really good at football, and whoever's on this team is going to do really good at football as well.
Hey, for the Cardinals,
that's my expert analysis on that.
Hey, it was beautiful, by the way. For the Cardinals matchup, all I wrote was Cardinals, the whole team. Like, I literally think you could just pick a guy and be like, yeah, I'm starting him. Like,
yeah, they look kind of Super Bowl contender ready after that Week 1 performance. So definitely don't hate that one. Rye, let's get your hero in this.
Ronald Jones. And that's just for this week. I'm not saying that it's going to be a continuous thing, but Arians named him the starter. I know that I shouldn't, but I do believe Bruce Arians.
Do you believe that? Yeah. Okay.
I believe it. I think that Rojo is going to get the start to kind of help boost his confidence. And if he doesn't fumble the ball, he's a good running back. Wouldn't necessarily say a good pass catcher, but I'm seeing him as a really good flex kind of play, especially against Atlanta's defense. Their defense is like my butthole after Chipotle. Black, red, and it leaks. The secondary, the defensive line.
You know I'm sound clipping that to not put in the Chipotle part. Their defense is
do it.
Loose and fast.
It's loose and fast. Go to Chipotle, get the everything burrito, ask double everything. Hopefully there's a bathroom that's unoccupied, and hopefully Rojo gets the ball, rushes for 150 yards through your anus.
I love it.
Clip it. Send it.
You better clip that. Send it to me. So
I'm clipping that for sure. That's going up on the IG tonight.
Fantastic.
Anyway,
but Rojo.
That's interesting.
I don't mind it.
I like the explanation. I mean, I can get on board with that. Arians is a madman, but hey, if you believe him, that's all that matters.
It's a 1-game rental. It's not going to be consistent, but I'm just liking him this week against that defense.
That is a good defense to play him against for sure.
And stop sending me Chipotle gift cards for Christmas. I have an issue.
If that defense is anything like Ryan's b-hole, then you guys are in for a treat.
Yes, you are. Bring a camera.
My hero is the great one, Iron Mike Tyson Williams. Listen, Kansas City finished 6th against the run on the week last week. They gave up 153 yards between, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. This isn't a split backfield that they're going with the Ravens. I know, he can say that he's blessed to have 4 running backs like that, but like I was saying before, the proof's in the pudding with Tyson Williams, right? Like, the guy looked great. They're not going to not play him. He did make those mistakes, like you talked about, Rye, in the passing game, pass blocking. But I think those are mistakes that are kind of expected of a rookie, undrafted free agent running back. And I think that's why they had Latavius Murray in there, in the capacity that they did, right? Like, they didn't want to just put Tyson Williams out there with, like, the whole game and just, like, let him make more mistakes. They wanted to give him a little buffer, and I think that's why, like, what Latavius Murray served. And it'll probably be a similar role, but I think even if it is a similar role, he got 4 targets in the passing game, which is, like, tied for most for Ravens running backs through all of last year. Yeah, so he had 9 attempts, 65 yards. He averaged 7.2 yards a carry, great efficiency with the football, finished with 18 fantasy points. And Lamar fumbled 3 times. So what's in Lamar's mind? Fumbling 3 times and losing the game off of one of those fumbles, by the way. Yep. So in my head, what does Lamar not want to do? Fumble the ball. So how does he not do that? A, he's more secure with the ball when he's running, and B, he doesn't run the ball as much, which equates to more touches for the running backs, i.e. Tyson Williams. And so that's why I'm going with Tyson Williams as my hero on the week. And then I'll roll right into my honorable mention hero, and that's Tim Patrick. I already talked about him. All he does is catch touchdown passes, right? FYI, he tied with the amount of touchdowns last year that he had with DeAndre Hopkins and Robert Woods. Tim Patrick had 6 touchdowns last year. Like, Tim Patrick, right? But even week 1, he was 4 for 4. He only had 39 yards, but he catches everything that's thrown his way. He gets open. No Judy. Good matchup. I think Tim Patrick will absolutely do enough to float your team this week if you're in a pinch for a wide receiver, because he's probably on your waiver wire right now.
Oh yeah.
And that's my honorable mention. Do you guys have any hero honorable mentions?
I do, actually, in the same game as you and Tim Patrick, and that's the Broncos running backs, both of them. So that's all I have.
Gordon,
both running backs.
Fastest running back last week.
I think Gordon. Yeah, Gordon. It will probably be the top guy out of that backfield this week once again. I do think Javonte Williams is going to have a really good week also. And so I actually have both guys.
I think they actually split. Like you
like
mentioned
50-50, yeah.
Yeah, I think they split, not carries, but snaps. I think it was pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be mine.
I like it. Ryan, you got one, or you want to move on to it? You want to lead us off with your zero of the week?
So the other one is going to be Leonard Fournette, just in case Rojo fumbles the ball 3. No, I'm kidding. I ain't doing that.
Do the b-hole bit again.
I would have loved it.
Nope. So yeah, my zero is going to be the Green Bay Packers defense. There are a lot of people picking them up off waiver wires just to play them against Detroit. I'm just going to say that I don't think they're going to get as many points as you think they're going to get you. I don't think they're going to get you a 10-point game. I'm liking the way Anthony Lynn is scheming these games. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, both top 5, top 6 running backs for PPR this week. And we're going to bite some kneecaps. So if you're picking up their defense to win you a game, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we could play from behind, but we've got some more kneecaps to bite.
There's that Lions fan, baby. You're back.
Yep, I'm back.
we lost you for a second, and when you're dogging my boy, when we were dogging the Lions, I should say, with Aaron Jones. But yeah, no, we're back. I agree. I think the Lions in general are just an under the radar, underrated team. They're not good. I'm not gonna go out and say that they're good and they're gonna contend for anything. But I could see them winning 6 or 7 feisty games this year.
Yep.
7 is
feisty,
kind
man.
of on the high end, but I don't think they're as bad as the national media projects. So I like that pick for your 0. Steve, who's your 0 for the week?
So I kind of mentioned it earlier. Had a great week last week. This guy did about 31, almost 32 points on the week. 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 12 targets. That's Deebo Samuel. And I do have it in here. It's all on what Shanahan says. But if Ayuk can play, he's gonna take targets away from him. But right now, the biggest factor is Deebo Samuel has to go up against big play Slay, Darius Slay. And last week, Darius Slay held Calvin Ridley to 51 yards. He shut Ridley down. I think Slay's going to do it again, and that's why I'm not high on Deebo Samuel this week.
Would you say George Kittle gets the majority of the targets then? Because the answer could affect what I do with George Kittle.
I do. I think Kittle would probably. I think Kittle would. I guess it depends on who the second. I think they're still going to target Samuel, but.
Or are you hopeful that it goes to Ayuk, and you're trolling me?
I think they're still. No, I think they're still going to target Samuel, but I think. I mean, who? Come on, who would you rather have? Deebo Samuel, Calvin Ridley, right?
Yeah,
you're taking Ridley 99.9% of the time, and he got shut down by Darius Slay last week. Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel has to face that same guy, big play Slay. So, I think they're still going to try to target him. I don't think it's going to work. I do think Kittle will probably be looked at, but that's my reasoning.
I'll disagree with that take. I see your reasoning, but I think this game is going to be a high scoring game because I think both of these teams, the Eagles and the 49ers respectively, got kind of cupcake like week 1 matchups in the Falcons and the Lions. But I think both of those teams' offenses are more than capable of scoring points on almost any defense. And so what that equates to in my mind is they're both going to score a lot of points on each other, kind of like a gunfight. But I mean, I do. If they let Ayuk go, man, Shanahan is just a wild smoking gun. Like if they let Ayuk go and he plays to the potential that we think he could play, then I definitely agree with your take. I think Deebo gets faded this week, especially off of his big week 1. But yeah, I'll disagree, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're looking at it, Atlanta.
Let's put a bet on it then, Steve.
I'm down, but Atlanta has a better offense than
Lions?
Than the 49ers.
So? Oh, yeah.
No, than the 49ers. I would say Atlanta has a better offense, right? Or no?
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. I think Shanahan... Yeah, go ahead.
Like Matty Ice, I don't know what's going on with him. And then I don't know if
he's worn out, man.
He's worn out. I don't know if Arthur Smith's schemes are going to fit this team. I don't know if it's going to work there.
I think Matt Ryan is playing like how Matt Stafford would have played if Matt Stafford stayed with the Lions this year. Like he's just going through another rebuild, and like I think deep down, Matt Ryan knows that probably not going to make another championship run like he had. I don't know. I
like the receiver pieces that they have.
Yeah.
But just like the Falcons' defensive line, their offensive line is like I'm kidding.
Yeah, here comes Ryan with another butthole reference.
Hey, you want to talk about buttholes? I can talk about them all
really.
day.
Hey.
Oh, you said you did. Well,
Hey.
Let me bring up my notes about buttholes.
Funny that you ask.
Let me show you some
Hey,
pictures.
I don't hate it, Steve.
That's
Let's
all
make a
I
bet on
have.
it.
Samuel is going to get shut down by Slay. We know how Slay plays. I don't know if you guys forgot, but he was on the Lions.
It does seem like there's a shift in the paradigm of like defensive backs, like right, like we were talking about in the group chat, like Jair Alexander, Marcus Lattimore, who's the Ramsey, who's the Rams guy? Ramsey. It just seems like a lot of shutdown cornerbacks in the league right now, and they showed it in week 1. So yeah, that's a good point.
I do agree. I had to add that little tidbit in there. You could play, because if he doesn't play, then yes, we could be looking at a different situation. But I do think it's going to be a tough night for Samuel all night. So
fair enough. I have an even more hot take for my 0 of the week, and mine is Dalvin Cook. And we're talking about guys like you drafted early. This guy probably went number 2, number 3, at the latest probably number 4 in pretty much every draft there was, right? So Dalvin Cook, and here's why. Derrick Henry week 1. We all know Derrick Yeti. Derrick Henry, he's a monster. You give it to him 30 times a game. Well, week 1 against Arizona, he was pedestrian. He had 80, the Titans in general had 86 rushing yards. I think Derrick Henry had like 12 carries. Really was a non-factor for pretty much the entire game. And I think Arizona's defense is just, they're healthy. Chandler Jones is back. They got JJ Watt now. Like, that defensive line is just nasty. And the Cardinals are just a nasty team in general. Like, I just think the defense is so good. Budda Baker's awesome. Dalvin Cook's going to have a rough go of it. And I think that it's going to be a lot like week 1. I think the Cardinals are going to get ahead. And the Vikings are going to get forced into having to throw the ball a lot. And Dalvin Cook's going to get game scripted out. And I know Dalvin Cook's a little bit more of a pass catching back than Derrick Henry, but I don't think it matters much. Dalvin Cook week 1, he averaged 3 yards, just barely 3 yards a carry. So he didn't have a great week 1 either, which is pretty much tied for his lowest yards per carry with all of last year. So is Dalvin Cook the same? So yeah, I think Dalvin Cook, I would be fading Dalvin Cook. And he's another guy, just like Saquon, right? You're not going to not play Dalvin Cook. Like, you drafted him in your top 4 in every draft. You're not going to not play him, but it's just like taper your expectations, right? And if he's not on your roster, then maybe you target him after this week as like a trade guy, right? Like, we talked about these guys like Zeke last week, guys that you would look to trade for if they, it's still early in the season, early enough to where a lot of fantasy managers, especially people that aren't as hardcore in the fantasy world, if this guy has a stinker week 2, then maybe you could get him at a value for a trade. So maybe target him after this week. But I think Dalvin Cook has a disappointing week as far as fantasy is concerned.
Yeah, someone sent us a Saquon for Zeke trade in the Share Dynasty League. I just wanted you guys to see that before I put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, we should accept it.
I actually considered like countering it and like maybe adding a couple pieces, but I didn't see anybody on that person's roster worth like countering with. Like, I was like, just no. Like,
yeah,
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it, and I debated it for about a half a second. I'm like, Yeah.
I want to see what they would say if I hit accept. Guys, check out this awesome trade. I just go check out Sleeper.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, I'd kill you.
Maybe you should try that with Lawrence or something.
He sent it to me, baby.
We'll let everyone in on that. So Ryan is trying to fleece a lesser fantasy manager in our dynasty league on a Trevor Lawrence for Tyrod Taylor trade.
Now, when you
It's
say
been-
fleece, you imply that I sent this trade to said
No,
manager.
I'm implying that you know better as a senior member of the league.
And I will say this. If you wake up tomorrow morning, let's say you're in my position, and you woke up, which it was not how it happened, but there was a trade, Trevor Lawrence for your Tyrod Taylor. You're telling me you would not hit accept?
I'm hitting accept faster than you make your head spin. I'm hitting accept so damn fast. But that's not the point here, Ryan. I'm just have a little integrity, okay? That's all I'm asking.
And
No,
let me defend myself as well to the two people listening. Just listen to me. I did send him a
God.
Tyson Williams, Michael's Hero of the Week, which I have in my roster, and the heir apparent to the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, packaged. He sent back to me Tyrod Taylor for Lawrence instead. And I said, okay, I like this trade.
I said, okay.
Nothing else I can do about it.
The same man would.
Can't
I
hate
don't
on
hate
it. I would
I
say
don't-
the same thing.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not hating on you for accepting it, but I also am hating on you for accepting it kind of deal.
See, I would
God
be the
bless.
idiot. I would be the idiot that sends him a message like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Like, because I'll
Yeah.
accept that. Like,
Like, I'm mad at you, but I'm also mad at you in envy. I think
It's all
the
good.
real
I'll
reason.
take it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I will
so
take it.
That's our show for today. You can find us. I don't know why I trailed off there. You can find us anywhere podcasts are found. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Look us up on YouTube. I'm going to try to get this uploaded to YouTube this time so you guys can finally watch us on that. Steve's got the banner right there, 3 Fantasy Boys. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow all that. We're posting memes and just random fantasy stats and clips from the show. Follow me on Twitter, Motor City Mikey. Sometimes I tweet, and usually it's about football. And we will see you guys on Monday.
There'll
Y'all
also
have
be
a good
pictures
week.
of my beehole as
And,
well.
Yeah, don't forget Ryan's beehole, because that's a key point of our show. That's actually a focal point of our show. When we're not talking about fantasy, we're talking about Ryan's beehole. And we'll finish it with that. All
God
right,
bless you.
Y'all have a good weekend.
later.
Peace.